here in the background. Joining us right now, she had to this point been, I called her one thing, let's call her the Klay Thompson of guests on this program, because the poor thing had usually had to call in after devastating losses on a Tuesday. Well, she calls in arguably the biggest win in 20 years for the Sacramento Kings. The beautifully intellectual, wonderful, very good person, homemade dog food making, starts her taxes in August. Kayte Christensen, good morning.
I wish I could start my taxes in August. That would make life a lot easier. Good morning, guys.
Did you finish yours, or did you do the extension?
Oh, I actually got mine done pretty early this year. And by that I mean like in February. But I have a tax person because I've never done my own taxes, because since I was an adult and making money, when you're in the WNBA or the NBA or whatever, you have to file taxes in every state that you play in. So it's not easy, but yes, I just found out on Monday, so it's at least done and paid for and all that.
But I've witnessed you, Kayte. You are a very thorough receipt and note taker. Yeah. So that's just to help out your tax person.
Yeah, no, I do a complete spreadsheet of all of my expenses in every category, send it off to them, and they can determine, because I work from home, like there's all these things. We're all looking for tax breaks, so
well done.
Take advantage of what you can.
I believe they pronounce that anal, I think, when it comes to how she is with her taxes. Kayte, are you a fan of turkey sausage?
I don't know that I've ever had it, but I'm trying to figure out where this is going.
There was a guy next to me yelling. Here, give me the yell, Chris.
Turkey sausage!
He was yelling turkey sausage all night.
Yeah, what is that about? What is that?
Well, we got him to call in. He was sitting next to on Mason's side, my son, and he just kept yelling turkey sausage towards me and then at Draymond Green. And it turns out that he knows the lady who he referred to as the portly lady, a portly woman who owns a bakery in Danville, and explained that Draymond Green would order a turkey sausage breakfast sandwich and would take an hour to come pick it up, and then she would yell at him because he always ate cold turkey sausage. So this guy's big burn on Draymond was yelling turkey. And we're just, there's Light the Beam, there's Feel the Roar, there's Here We Stay.
Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray. Yeah.
I think, honestly, Scott Moak, we need to get him to go, turkey sausage. We're kind of adopting it as the de facto postseason chant, Kayte.
Yeah, well, there's all-stars and all that stuff. I don't know that that's an all-star burn right there.
No. Hey. Well, that's the thing. I think it was a Trojan horse. I think Draymond's used to be calling every name in the book. Yeah. The horrible things are said to him. He didn't see it coming at all. And I think he realized that I am the cold turkey sausage guy. And that's why he was so deflated last night, Kayte. Key to the game.
Yeah, key to the game, 100%.
Yes.
What was the key to the game for you? Seriously, we were doing this earlier. This is and I know if there's one thing I know about Kayte, she likes to be put on the spot and be forced to make a decision. We wanted to hand out a game ball. Now, I will just say, you could make a case for pretty much everybody in the starting lineup. I gave mine to Harrison Barnes because I was thinking with my heart and just how much I know last night meant to him, and he obviously played well. But Keegan, for sure. Keon Ellis, what an amazing line. You gave yours to
I did Keon, yeah.
Right.
But it could have been Keegan or Fox or Sabonis.
Yeah. Who would you got to give Katie's game ball, brought to you by whoever.
Turkey sausage.
Turkey sausage. Who are you giving yours to?
So yeah, you're right. You can make a case for a lot of people. So I have an answer, but I'm also going to give you a couple other answers. First quarter ball goes to Keegan, right?
Yeah.
He really set the tone offensively, all of that stuff. He started out guarding Steph, which, I'm not surprised by, and he did a great job, and I'm not surprised that they switch it up because you got to give a steady, diet of what's coming, who and what is coming defensively with Steph. Fourth quarter game ball goes to Harrison Barnes. He had 9 points in the fourth quarter, more than anybody else on either side. But the game ball is Keon Ellis to me. Like, he was He was so good and so timely with his shots and did such a great job defensively. I mean, 3 blocks, 3 steals. When you look at the fourth quarter and Steph Curry went 3 of 4 in the fourth quarter from the field. First of all, only 4 shots. He only took 1 3. 1 3. He missed it. And it was just, he did such an excellent job of taking on that challenge. But also, you look at it, look at the Warriors. They had Trace Jackson Davis. They had BP. These are guys that are rookies that have been thrust into big roles with the Warriors. And I felt both of them were just eaten alive by the moment. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you look at Keon, who I know he's not really a rookie, but he's a rookie in terms of being a part of it and being impactful. And this is a guy that was like in and out of the lineup, playing a, kind of very depleted role, if you will, early in the season, to being in the starting lineup and playing in his first massive game. And man, like, the moment was not too big for him. And so to me, the game ball goes to Keon.
Kayte, Keon was a huge part of it, but the collective defense, I don't know if they've played better this year. That 4-quarter performance was as locked in from start to finish, the 50-50 balls, the closing of a defensive set, the rebounding. What did you see from them defensively?
That to me is why they won the game. And it's really crazy, you guys, because this has been such an up and down season, right? And the expectations and everything. And I think that, and I understand that, fans and people, that are following the Kings can be like, well, it's been disappointing. You go from being like the darling of the NBA a year ago, Cinderella story, 3rd in the Western Conference, playoff appearance, this is that number 1 offense in NBA history, and so on and so forth. And then it's like, well, you're not meeting the expectations this season. Well, I kind of disagree in the sense that when you look at it from like a 30,000 foot point of view, take the Warriors, for example. They were 6th in the Western Conference last year, and they had 2 more wins this season than they did last year, and they were 10th. Like the just scope of the Western Conference was so different this year than it was last year because most teams were healthy, right? The Kings have dealt with a ton of injuries in comparison to a year ago. Throughout the course of the season, they've missed guys for long stretches of time. And then obviously to have Malik and Kevin, Kevin with the season-ending injury and Malik with the knee injury that came against Dallas, and we still don't know his status. And he's certainly not going to be available for Friday, but if they advance after that, what is his status? So they're dealing with all of these things. But the big thing that everyone has always complained about is defense with this team. Well, this is not like, I'm trying to, how do I put this into words nicely? Watching the last TNT game against New Orleans from home and listening to like Chuck and everyone in the, TNT, studio talking about how terrible the Kings defense is. Well, it was not great against New Orleans because the Kings just quite honestly don't match up well against them. And it's like, are you watching? Have you been watching any other games? Have you been paying attention? Are you just watching the game that is being played that day that you guys are covering? Because since March 1st to the end of the regular season, the Kings, that's 24 games, you guys. The Kings are 3rd in the NBA in defensive rating. 3rd, 109.5 per game, right? The 2 teams above them, Orlando and Miami. And 24 games, you guys, is almost a third of the season. And they finished the season, I think, at 14 in defensive rating. They were 24th a year ago. Yes, their offensive rating is lower, but they're playing both sides now. And I can make the argument that this team is so much better defensively than people give them credit for, because I don't think people are really paying that close of attention. And I get it. It's hard. There's 30 teams and blah, 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 and all the things. And, the national schedule and so on and so forth. It definitely highlights different teams. So to me, the key to really the Kings surviving the end of the regular season with the injuries and then that win last night, defensively, you guys, they have been so much more impactful than I think any of us ever anticipated that they even could be.
That's TV analyst Kayte Christensen, who joins us each Wednesday at 9 a.m. Kayte, to your point about the season, the ups and downs, as we say, there's been quite a few candidates for Willodes. As I talked to you on the show earlier, the Kings were 0-6 in Wogos in their entire history. Would you consider last night the Bewody?
What the heck is a Willody?
A Willody is the worst loss of the year, of course. A Wogo would be win or go home.
Okay.
And last night,
Bewody.
I'm asking if last night was the Bewody, the best win of the year. Come on, you're an analyst?
Certainly,
What an
yeah.
idiot.
So
She's
sorry.
an analyst.
So sorry. I didn't know I needed like a cheat code
Yeah,
to
come on.
figure out
Come on now.
all of your
These are
lingo.
terms. You know what a spray 3 is? I mean, these are basketball terms, Kayte.
Okay.
Obviously,
Start taking notes.
last night was the best one of the year, obviously. But I'm going to ask you this. Look, you haven't been here since '85, but you've been here a while now. None of us are getting any younger, Is this, would you say this is, I'm asking you, don't be prisoner of the moment like I am. Is this the best Kings win of your career here?
Oh, I think without a doubt. Yeah. In terms of what it means.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
There's been great wins, comeback wins, dominant performances, so on and so forth throughout my time here. But in terms of what they mean and the value to the season, like when you have a big win in an 82-game season, it's not as meaningful as a playoff win, or now in the current NBA play-in situations where it is like a win or go home dynamic. And to have it be a one-off game is even more amazing, right? I think when you're in a 7-game series with a team, and like you look at Game 6 last year where the Kings had to win. Yeah, they had to win to continue, right? But this one is different in the meaning of like, yeah, that you had one chance to do it. You have 7 in a 7-game series to like come out with the ultimate win, which is advancing. So in terms of, last night and what the play-in now represents in the NBA, these games are really exciting. And I actually love the play-in tournament now because, and not just because of the situation the Kings are in, but I mean, you guys, we have been watching more like closely the finale and the end of the regular season, like the final, like look at the final 20 games, and even midway point of the season, you're looking at the Lakers and the Warriors and 9, 10, 11, like it's going back and forth. Like we weren't paying attention to that before. No one cared. And it made everything more meaningful. And then you look at the Warriors and how great they were kind of the last couple months of the season. They were brilliant. They were 10-2 to finish the season, better than any team in the league. And they were still in 10th place. So to me, it is such a great addition to the NBA schedule. But in terms of the Kings winning last night, like it was terrifying going in because you got one chance, one shot at it. And man, did they step up to the moment. And Mike Brown talks before the game, like first question was like, where do you think your team is? Like, how do you feel going into this one? And he's like, I feel like they're confident. I feel like they're ready. I feel like they're focused. But the most important thing he said is, and I feel like they believe. I feel like they have a belief that they're going to win this game. And he's talked so much about the importance of belief. And he talks about the head coach at St. Mary's, who he's really close to. And this has been an ongoing thing that he has mentioned over the last couple of years, is the key is trying to get your team to believe what they're capable in. And when they stepped out on the floor in that first quarter, I'm like, wow, like, he's right. Like he has now successfully instilled a belief in this team that even when their backs are against the wall, when it's an elimination game, that they have the ability, regardless of who is healthy and on the floor, they have the ability to come out and get a victory. And so that's what I felt from that game. Like I'm like, wow, 10 points, 20 points. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. I think it's safe to say that they really believe that they can do this.
He instilled that belief, I think, into the team, Kayte, to your point, and individuals. And a guy like Keegan Murray, who I think last year in the postseason in that series against the Warriors got better as it went along and looked more and more comfortable. Yesterday, I mean, I felt like Keegan thought, I'm just going to go from the get-go.
Yeah.
I loved his aggressive nature. And on a night filled with stars, the end, he's the high scorer with 32. What do you think about Keegan's performance last night?
One of the things that has changed with all the injuries this season is that Mike Brown has been more involved in play calling. Normally with their system and what we saw last year and early in the season is there's a lot of freedom for the guys on the floor to make the decision of what they're going to run, how they're going to attack. And that's kind of, to a certain degree, there's been frustration from fans because when it's like, oh, we need more from Keegan, or we need more from Kevin, or we need more from Harrison. Well, every game has a different flow to it. And so if someone gets going early or there's something they're trying to take advantage of defensively, some guys can seem really quiet. But as the season has gone on, and we saw it for a chunk of time where they were calling plays at the beginning of the game for Harrison Barnes, and he had that stretch where he was really good late in the season. And it's like, oh, see, this is what we need. We need him to be more aggressive and more active. It's like that was intentional. That was by design. That was Jay Triano and Mike Brown looking at the matchups and saying, oh gosh, well, the worst defender most nights is going to be put on Harrison from the beginning. So let's try and utilize this matchup and that matchup. And then with Keegan last night, Mike Brown, first play of the game was drawn up for Keegan. Second year player getting the first play and then responding. And then they just kept going back to him. And I was thinking as I was watching, and it was such a cool moment. I'm like, he's so different as a player than he was a year ago. He was a 3-point shooter, really kind of hit him defensively. He would rebound a little, but this year, like, he came up with so many rebounds last night, you guys. Like, you talk about the rebounding differential. Kings had 15 offensive rebounds. Domantas Sabonis is the leading rebounder in the NBA and the leading offensive rebounder. He had 1 offensive rebound last night. It was everybody else that got involved. They did a great job of trying to make him, ineffective on the boards, and he still had a double-double. He still had 13 boards, I believe, but it was on the defensive end. And so for Keegan to come in, and he was making threes, he was driving the lane, he's got the midi, and he's playing defense on Steph and, rebounded. Like, it was such a cool moment to witness. Like, wow. And I said it at the beginning of the season, I was like, Keegan Murray is going to be an all-star someday. That is how good I think he is. And just the juxtaposition from year 1 to year 2 in a massive game, and for him to step up like that, it was so amazing. It was so amazing to be a part of.
Kayte Christensen joining us. I've got a lot of stuff for you here. Number one, and we don't really, no time to, we'll comment on this later, but just breaking news real quick. According to Shams Charania, Jonte Porter, the brother of Michael Porter Jr., has been given a lifetime ban from the NBA. The NBA's investigation found that he had, quote, disclosed confidential information to sports bettors, limiting his own participation in 1 or more games for betting purposes on top of betting on NBA games. So a young player is his career is over for those mistakes. But that's good because the NBA, of course, would never take gambling money anyways. That's a whole different thing. But this guy's throwing games or throwing his own time. So that's number one. Number two, to your point about Keegan, an NBA or a Sacramento record, by the way, in the playoffs, 8 3-pointers last night for Keegan Murray. And this is a sloppy segue, but this also absolutely surprised me. It's sloppy in the sense that we were just talking about Jonte Porter, and I'm going to bring up betting odds, but the odds have hit for Friday's game. And Katie, we usually play this game. I'll bring you in. And I know you're going to love this because you know nothing about betting. So I'll let Jason start to give you an idea. Chris, your mic on too, please. I want to go around the room here. The Sacramento Kings take on the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans. As we know, they're 0-5 against them this year. They have lost by a collective amount of points. That is a record amongst teams that have lost to any other teams. 0-5. So the Kings are at the Pelicans on Friday. Chris, why don't you lead us off? Who is favored, but by how much?
I am going to say the Pelicans by 3.5.
3.5. Okay.
We don't know about Zion, but
No.
even with that, I'm going to say Pelicans by 6.5.
6.5. Okay. I believe the Kings have lost to the Pelicans somewhere around 20 points on average in 5 games. Katie, I let Chris and Jason go first so you get an idea. Who is favored in what? You know what? Actually, never mind. I don't know the rules. I'm not having, you know what? I just realized I'm not going to put you in a position to talk about betting.
Yep,
so
I can't.
Yeah. So I'll skip
Right
Katie.
after the Jonte.
I know, right? Because I'm an idiot.
I take the course. I do all the stuff. The we have to do an online course. All the stuff.
Just caught it. Just caught it.
Yeah.
So you can just listen in. Just listen in on your own, guys. The Pelicans are favored by 1.5.
Oh, wow.
Wait a minute. Breaking news. The Sacramento Kings are 1.5 point favorites in New Orleans.
That's got to be
Friday.
Zion related.
It has to be. How is
and
that?
We don't know that he's out.
And just so people understand who are new to the show, we don't use the betting lines for betting, 1-800-GAMBLER, obviously. What we do is it's very interesting to see where Vegas is on these things, because a lot of times it's a predictor for injuries and stuff. These are the guys that have all the inside scoops, right? The fact of the matter, the Kings are favored at the open, which I imagine is going to change to a pick 'em by Friday, because there's probably going to be a lot coming out on the other side. Scares me to death. All right, cut, paste, move on. Now getting back to Katie. Katie, we're trying not to look ahead today. We're trying to enjoy this game and this win. Can you analyze a way for the Kings to beat the Pelicans based on what you've seen so far this year? Is there something we're missing?
Well, I'll explain to you why it's a really difficult matchup for the Kings.
Yeah.
And I got into it a little bit on the pre and post game show last night. The reality of it's crazy, the NBA, right? Like, because the Lakers have been brilliant against the Pelicans. It's not a good matchup for the Pelicans to go against the Lakers. They have struggled with them this year. On the flip side, we have struggled with the Pelicans and dominated the Lakers, right? How does that happen?
Yeah.
How does that happen? Well, first of all, the 3-point shooting of the Pelicans is far superior to the Lakers. And Domantas Sabonis has absolutely dominated Anthony Davis, dominated him. That has been a huge factor in that matchup. But when you look at why the Lakers have been good against the Pelicans, it's because they have size that we do not. We struggle with the size of them paired with their 3-point shooting, because they have so many 3-point shooters. You have to blitz, you have to double team. And not only do they have multiple 3-point shooters that you can kick it to and they can knock it down, you kind of pick your poison on who's the hot guy. When you play the Pelicans, there's a list of hot players, which is the ones in terms of how you defend the 3-point shot. There's like 7 of them. I'm not joking, you guys. Normally, maybe you might have 4 on a team, but then you have Zion, who you kick the ball to out of a double team, and he immediately flash drive, put it on the ground, and attacks like a freight train going down the center of the key. Kings don't match up well with Zion. That's the problem. The Lakers, you can put LeBron on them. Size, strength, it's a lot different ball game when you're playing in that matchup. So to me, who's available obviously is very impactful. I have a big question about Brandon Ingram too. He only played 4 minutes in the fourth quarter against the Lakers. Something's going on with him. I haven't had time yet today to look into that. Not going to lie to you guys either. I'm not going to look into it today. I'll look into it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to enjoy this win today. So to me, the question is, can you in some way make the Pelicans struggle from the 3-point line? Because that literally erases so much of their potency on the offensive end. You look at their game against the Lakers last night, they were down big in the first half. They shot horribly from 3-point range. Horribly. That is not the team that we saw. And that's not the team most teams see on most nights, right? And so the crazy thing about the 3-point shot in the NBA and a play-in situation, you guys, you can be a 3-point shooting team and struggle for a game in a 7-game series, and it's going to even out. A play-in game, you have to be good. And so if in some world the Kings can do a great job in terms of defending the 3 and pairing that, hopefully New Orleans has an off night, I think you have a legitimate shot. of being able to advance.
That's Kayte Christensen coming in, hitting cleanup, doing a great job after a big win for a change. Also, if you ever pay attention, one of my favorite things about Kayte, whenever she says the word literally, literally. You ever notice that, Kayte? You always
Yeah, I do because I'm a redneck and there's a lot of letters that I kind of slur. And so there are letters, and a lot of them are the IEs, right?
Yes.
And so I get lazy with them, and I have to enunciate clearly. Yeah.
Someday I'll share the story of us watching part of the game together last night, but we'll save that for another day. Thank you, dear. Always a great job. Thanks so much, and I'm sure we will be talking to you very, very soon. Go Kings.
All right, go Kings.
Kayte will take a break. When we come back,